In 1984, a businessman named Chuck Feeney quietly signed away his entire multi-billion-dollar empire to a private foundation, leaving himself with less than $2 million. For 3 decades, he hid this decision from his business partners and the public while flying coach and wearing a $15 watch. His choice exposed a strange truth about the 10 distinct financial levels that separate a broke person from a billionaire. While most people assume the hardest jump is crossing into 7 figures, the deadliest trap is actually level 5, where a single psychological shift destroys 90% of self-made fortunes. At level 1, a person starts in a deep hole rather than at zero. This is the reality for millions of graduates who enter the workforce with $80,000 of student loans. Every hour they work is already owned by a bank, forcing them to use credit cards for basic groceries. But even if the debt stops growing, they hit a new wall. Crossing into level 2 brings a person to the survival line where income covers basic expenses, but the bank account resets to zero every 14 days. One flat tire can send someone falling back into the hole, working extra shifts just to stay afloat. They must constantly decline invitations, living in a state of low-level anxiety where every bill is a threat. The first real breakthrough happens when they save enough cash to stop panicking. Reaching level 3 means building an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of living expenses kept in cash. This money earns almost no interest, yet it transforms a sudden car breakdown from a tragedy into an inconvenience. Fearing a return to the previous stage, people treat this cash like a shield and refuse to touch it even when struggling. Yet safety alone cannot build wealth, leaving most people stuck, comfortable but bound to a job they hate. To cross into level 4, a person must eliminate all outstanding credit card debt and student loans. Being debt-free means every dollar earned is finally theirs to save or invest. The day the final payment clears, a heavy weight lifts from their shoulders, replaced by a sense of possibility. However, having no debt does not make them rich, as their income still depends entirely on trading hours directly for dollars. Escaping this cycle requires entering the zone where money starts working instead of hands. Entering level 5 means crossing the threshold of the first $100,000 invested, a milestone Charlie Munger called the hardest part of wealth creation. It often takes a full decade of saving to reach this point, as the initial growth is slow and relies entirely on manual contributions. At this stage, compound interest becomes visible, but the psychological trap snaps shut. Having $100,000 in liquid assets tempts them to upgrade their lifestyle, buying a faster car, and resetting their financial clock. Those who resist discover a shift where their investments grow by $10,000 in a single year without another added penny. But turning this momentum into true stability requires crossing a line where numbers on a screen match physical assets. Level 6 represents the 6-figure net worth, where total assets minus liabilities cross the $100,000 mark. Unlike level 5, this stage often includes illiquid assets like home equity and retirement accounts. Paper wealth looks impressive on a spreadsheet, but home equity cannot buy groceries during a sudden crisis. Middle-class stability provides a solid foundation and a retirement plan that grows steadily. If a job loss occurs, the family lifestyle can only survive for a few months before assets must be sold. Breaking free from this dependency requires entering a class that most people only see in movies. Level 7 is the classic millionaire status, defined by having a net worth of at least $1 million. Absolute financial independence begins here, allowing a person to stop working entirely. By relying on a conservative 4% withdrawal rate, they can generate $40,000 a year indefinitely. Transitioning to this stage requires learning to trust the market rather than active labor, a shift that overcomes a lifetime of work habits. However, a single $1 million only buys a quiet, average life, and trying to live like a movie star drains it in months. Except some millionaires refuse to accept this limit, pushing their capital into high-risk ventures to reach the next tier. Moving to level 8 establishes the multi-millionaire, where net worth ranges from $2 million to $10 million. Budgeting becomes completely unnecessary at this stage, allowing first-class travel and multiple properties without sweating the cost. Their assets make more money each year than most professionals earn in a decade, shifting their focus to legacy. Protecting this wealth from lawsuits and high taxes becomes the primary concern, displacing the urge to accumulate more. Specialized managers and family trusts are hired to insulate the assets behind legal walls. Still, this influence is dwarfed by those who own entire industries rather than just properties. Crossing into level 9 defines the centimillionaire, with a net worth of $100 million or more. Private jets and direct political influence characterize this level of wealth. Negotiations with prime ministers and the purchase of private islands become normal, escaping human limitations. Normal friendships become nearly impossible at this scale, as everyone they meet is suspected of wanting a piece of their fortune. Anxiety shifts from local comparison to the global elite, driving a constant need for expansion. Obsession turns toward the final, ultimate level of wealth, a tier so exclusive that fewer than 3,000 people on Earth have reached it. Reaching that final summit requires a sacrifice that most human beings are completely incapable of making. Billionaire status defines level 10. A billionaire operates in a completely different category of existence. To put this scale in perspective, 1,000,000 seconds is about 12 days, while 1,000,000,000 seconds is over 31 years. Control of media networks and private space programs replaces normal consumer spending. Yet, those who reach this level are rarely happy, living under constant public scrutiny while security teams turn their success into a gilded cage. Reflecting on this burden, Chuck Feeney made his choice early. He understood that after a certain point, wealth ceases to be a tool for freedom and becomes a cage. He chose to die broke, leaving behind a legacy of giving while the rest of the world continues to climb a ladder that has no top.